Ladies and gentlemen, this is Lions Den with another news and commentary. Stories like this is really bothers me. Okay, now I remember this. Remember Atatiana Jefferson, the woman who was killed in her own home in Fort Worth, Texas, because of a wellness check, because of a neighbor call. Um, the neighbor called the police concerning, basically saying that they left the door open and everything else, and it turns tragic. Well, this story is sort of similar, right? 2 years ago, a woman named Bobby Sapp. And now this is a similar story that happened in Fort Worth, Texas with the Atatiana Jefferson situation. Okay? You're going to hear this story, but again, I want you to hear very, very carefully. Now, because again, with the Atatiana Jefferson situation, the police did not even identify their police officers, and they shot Atatiana one time, killing her. Now, again, 2 years ago, it happened in Orlando, Florida, right? So you wouldn't believe what happened. So her ex, called the police on Bobby Sapp, and then they broke into her home. Now they said that they identify police, but when they went to her bedroom, they didn't really identify her, right? They said the same thing that they did with Tatiana Jefferson. Show me your hands. And again, yes, she had a gun, but you wouldn't even believe what happened next. And luckily, I'm surprised she's still alive because of the story. But I'm gonna go ahead and play this story, and I'm gonna continue the rest of my commentary.
Just 2 weeks ago, while doing a well-being check, a Texas police officer shot and killed a woman in her own home. It's just the latest example of something like this happening. Here in Central Florida, a woman says the same thing happened to her when a police officer shot her in her own bed while doing a well-being check.
Tonight, in an exclusive interview, that woman tells investigator Lewis Bolden she believes she was set up. Lewis?
Lisa, set up by an ex-boyfriend. 49-year-old Bobby Sapp is a registered nurse and has no criminal past. That incident was 2 years ago. And next month, she goes on trial for attempted murder of a law enforcement officer. Because during that well-being check, police said she pulled a gun on them. Tonight, she says a well-being check was used as a tool to get police to her home, and now she is facing life in prison because of it.
He used this wellness check as a way to get me, to put me in harm's way and to get me out of my house.
It was 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning in September of 2017. While Bobby Sapp was fast asleep in the Winter Park home she rented,
911 is on, it's recorded.
she says her ex-boyfriend was calling Winter Park police.
I'm not too sure what I need. My girlfriend was threatening suicide last night. I just came to the house and I'm trying to get in.
It was a 5-minute, 34-second call.
Does she have a gun?
She is very well armed.
That Sapp says changed her life.
She threatened suicide by cop before.
I was asleep in my bed. I was not at all contemplating a suicide or suicide by cop.
When police arrived, Sapp's ex showed them how to enter the house.
There's one way into the house, so she was crawled through a window, and I don't want to do that at this point. I want somebody here with me.
One officer lifted a kitchen window, leaned in, and used a clothes hanger to unlock the back door, according to police. Meanwhile, the lead officer was still getting information from Sapp's ex.
I'm asking if there's any weapons in the house. He tells me there's enough weapons in the house to start a revolution.
Then 3 officers made their way into the house, through the living room, and finally to Sapp's bedroom, where they see her sleeping.
I'm thinking about the call, the suicide by cop before.
Veteran officer Jeff Markham describes in an interview with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement what happened next.
We're yelling at her to, let us see your hands, let us see your hands.
I didn't have my glasses on. I'm legally blind. So I couldn't identify anybody. They pulled the covers off of me.
At that point, when she pulled the cover, Miss Sapp immediately came up with a handgun and pointed it right at us.
Sapp admits she slept with 2 guns, saying she and her ex had been in a fight the night before and she feared it was him coming back to the house. She says she had taken a sleeping pill the night before, but did not point a gun at the officers.
Then I remember getting tased.
Markham said when Sapp wouldn't comply, one officer tased her.
She still pointed a gun at us. It comes back toward me, then it goes back towards Lieutenant Bologna and Officer Eller, and then I fired a round.
Sapp was shot in the shoulder.
If I had been pointing my gun in the way that they said that I was, why didn't they all shoot me instead of just one person?
Do you think police responded too aggressively?
Yes. It doesn't make any sense that they would come in that way unless they were lied to by somebody who was using this well check as a tool to put me in harm's way. It's something that can happen to anyone.
We contacted Winter Park Police for a comment, but the chief said it would be inappropriate to comment since the case will be going to trial soon. The trial is expected to start next month. And you guys, I have to tell you, 20 years of doing this, I have never had anyone do an interview before their trial, but she felt so strongly about getting her point out there.
This is something that I know so many people are going to be talking about. A couple of questions for you. Did police try and knock on the door or identify themselves that they were the police?
Very good question. The officer said during his interview with FDLE that they identified themselves when they walked into the house. But when asked if they identified themselves before they walked into the bedroom, he said, I don't know.
Because she was asleep at the
She
time.
was asleep.
Right.
Interesting
Wow.
story.
All right, Louis Bolden with that exclusive. Thank you.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You see, she could have been another Atatiana Jefferson if she would have shot the officer. Now, they said that the police officer saw. They said, the ex-boyfriend, of course, said that she got two guns. Now, if I recall correctly, when an officer didn't identify as police officers and they broke into her home, doesn't she have a right to have those guns? It's called, wait, let me say, stand your ground. Remember stand your ground law in Florida? When you don't know who that person was, they try to break into your home, and then a person has a right to shoot that person. But the officer shot her in the shoulder, and now she's going on trial, expectedly sometime this month. Now, what if she starts shooting at officers and they killed this woman? All because they said, she did have a gun, but you did not identify yourself as a police officer. Now, again, the story was saying, the news clip said, or the reporter was saying that, they walked into the house, they claiming that they identified as police officer, but when they went to her bedroom, they didn't identify themselves as. They said they don't know if they did identify themselves as police or not. Let me be clear, they didn't, and that's why That's why you see, Bobby Sapp got two guns, fearing for her life. Because what if, and she has every right to do it, if someone broke into her home, and they don't even know who these people are. They don't even identify themselves as police officers. And she has two guns in her bed thinking they're intruders. Same scenario as the Atatiana Jefferson situation. And they said, well, she did have a gun, but at the same time, the officer didn't even identify, in that case, the officer didn't even identify themselves when they said, and the last time I saw the video, the Atatiana Jefferson situation, that the officer in that case didn't identify as a police officer. All they said is, well, show me your hands. Hands up, show me your hands. That's exactly what that officer said. They haven't identified as their police or nothing. And same situation with the Bobby Sapp situation in Florida. Luckily, she's still alive. And the officer shot her in the shoulder, but luckily she's still alive because she could have been another Atatiana Jefferson. And because of her ex-boyfriend doing that wellness check, the same wellness check they did with Atatiana Jefferson in Texas, they used the same wellness check to the police go inside her home. And see, the only difference between the Bobby Sapp case and the Atatiana Jefferson case is that the Bobby Sapp case, the police went inside her home. In the Atatiana Jefferson case, the police went around her window, her bedroom window. and shot and killed Atatiana Jefferson. So this is why I'm gonna let you see the similarities of both of those cases, because again, they use the same wellness check to go. The officers go inside and they not even identify themselves as police officers. Went inside her home. I'm talking about Bobby Sapp's home. And yes, Bobby Sapp has a gun, which of course it was registered. And again, she had no idea that those was officers. She was legally blind, trying to get her glasses. Didn't even know they was police officers. And then luckily she got shot in the shoulder instead of the officer shot her multiple times, killing her. Because officers gonna say, well, that she got a gun. We feared for our lives. We didn't know what to do. And then yet they didn't even identify themselves as officers when they even entering her bedroom. Let me know what you think about this case. Like, click, subscribe, and remember to click the notification bell for all the news and commentary. With that being said, the Lions in sign off. Deuces.